The alien market was alive with strange lights and strange sounds. Tall creatures with glowing eyes walked past stalls filled with shining fruits, floating crystals, and tools that looked older than time. Humans rarely visited this part of the galaxy, and when one appeared, everyone stared. The human traveler, a man named Daniel, walked slowly through the market, keeping his hood up to hide his face. He only came here to buy food and leave quickly, but fate had other plans. As he passed a corner, he heard a soft voice, weak but desperate. "Please, human, pretend to be my father for just one day," the voice whispered. Daniel stopped, shocked by the words. He looked down and saw a small alien girl with bright silver eyes and skin that shimmered faintly under the lights. Her clothes were torn, her face was dirty, and she looked like she had not eaten in days. She gripped the edge of his coat tightly, her small hands trembling. Daniel's first thought was that this was some kind of trick. In a market full of thieves and liars, why would an alien child beg a human to act like her father? He pulled his coat back and tried to shake her off, but she held tighter. Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed calm. "Please, just for today. They will take me if you don't," she whispered again, almost broken. People in the market began to turn their heads, staring. Some laughed quietly, some muttered, and others looked away as if they already knew the story. Daniel felt heat rise in his chest, the kind of pressure that came when danger was close. He crouched low and looked her in the eye. "What are you talking about, girl? Who will take you?" he asked in a low voice. The girl looked over her shoulder, and Daniel followed her gaze. Two tall alien enforcers in black armor stood at the edge of the street, watching carefully. Their faces were cold, their hands rested on strange, glowing weapons. The girl whispered quickly, "They say I was abandoned by my clan. They say I have no father, no protector, so they will take me away. But if someone stands with me, if someone calls me their child, they cannot touch me. Not today." Daniel felt a sharp chill. This was no normal market scam. The fear in her eyes was too real, the tension in the air too heavy. Still, he was human, a stranger in this world, and taking her side meant breaking alien laws he did not understand. Why should he risk his life for a child that was not even human? But as he looked closer, he saw the way her hands shook. He saw the way she tried not to cry in front of the crowd, and then he realized no one else would help her. Not one soul in this crowded place cared for her fate. "Why me?" Daniel asked slowly, his voice hard. The girl swallowed and whispered, "Because you are human, and humans do not bow like the others, please. Pretend, just one day. Call me daughter, and I will be safe." The words hit Daniel deep. He remembered his own daughter back on Earth, a girl he had not seen in many years because of his long travels. For a moment he saw her face in this alien child, desperate and alone. His chest tightened, and against all logic, against all fear, he stood up and pulled the girl close to his side. He placed his hand gently on her head and spoke loudly enough for the watching crowd. "She is with me. She is my daughter." The crowd gasped. Whispers spread quickly. "A human claims her. Impossible. This is madness. The enforcers will never allow it." The two armored aliens stepped closer, their cold eyes glowing with suspicion. One of them spoke with a metallic voice. "Human, this is not your matter. Release the child. She does not belong to you." Daniel kept his hand firm on the girl's shoulder. His voice was steady, but inside his heart raced like thunder. "She is mine now, and you will not take her," he said. The girl pressed herself against him, her eyes wide but shining with hope. The enforcers stared, their hands twitching near their weapons. For a long moment, silence spread through the market. Everyone watched, waiting to see if the human would be crushed, or if he truly meant his words. Daniel knew he had just crossed a line he could never step back from. This was no longer about pretending, no longer about one day. It was the beginning of something larger, something dangerous. He did not know why, but his heart told him that this child carried a secret, a truth that could shake more than just this market. He only knew one thing: he could not let go now. The alien girl looked up at him, her small voice trembling. "Thank you, Daddy." "Daddy," she whispered. And for the first time in many years, Daniel felt the weight of fatherhood return. But above them, the enforcers signaled to each other, The trial was only beginning, and the human who dared to claim a child not his own had just invited the full judgment of the alien clan. The market crowd slowly broke apart, but whispers followed Daniel and the alien girl wherever they walked. Some faces showed shock, others fear, and a few even looked at him with quiet pity. He kept his hood low and guided the girl away from the main street, his hand firm on her shoulder. The little one stayed close, clutching the folds of his coat as if he were the only safe place left in the galaxy. When they reached a quiet corner, Daniel crouched down. "Tell me everything, girl. I need to know why they are after you," he said. Her silver eyes shimmered, filled with both hope and sorrow. "They say I was abandoned, but that is not true. My father died in the mines, my mother vanished, and the clan elders declared me cursed. Without a father, I am unprotected. The enforcers can take me away, and no one will stop them." Daniel frowned, trying to make sense of her words. He had traveled across many worlds, and in every culture he had seen rules, but never such cruelty toward a child. "What happens if they take you?" he asked quietly. Her voice cracked. "They will send me to the Black Orphanage. Children who go there never return. Some say they are used for experiments. Others whisper they are fed to the machines." The air seemed to grow colder. Daniel's heart pounded. Every instinct told him to walk away, to escape before he was marked as a criminal. But the way the girl looked at him, desperate, fragile, and yet trusting, burned away his hesitation. He sighed and placed his hand on her shoulder again. "You are safe with me. No one is taking you," he said firmly. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed through the alley. The two enforcers appeared, blocking the path, their black armor glowing with lines of red energy. One of them spoke with a deep voice that rattled like metal. "Human, you have interfered with clan law. Surrender the child or face punishment." Daniel stood, pulling the girl behind him. His jaw tightened, his mind raced. He had no weapon strong enough to match theirs, no allies in this hostile place, but he had his voice, and he had courage. "I said she is my daughter," Daniel declared. "You cannot take her." The second enforcer stepped forward, his hand resting on the glowing hilt of his energy blade. "The council will hear of this, human. If you claim her, then you must prove your right before the elders. Prepare yourself. Tomorrow you will stand in the clan trial." The word struck Daniel like a thunderbolt. He glanced at the girl, who trembled but did not look away. She whispered quickly, "The clan trial is the only way. If you fail, they will take me forever." The enforcers left, their boots echoing against the stone, leaving behind a cloud of dread. Daniel looked down at the girl, anger boiling inside him. "You knew this would happen," he said sharply. Tears welled in her eyes. "Yes, I did. But you are the only one who could help me. No alien would dare to claim me, only a human could." For a long moment he was silent. The weight of her words settled deep. She had placed her entire life in his hands, a man she had just met, and yet he felt a strange connection, as if the universe itself had pulled him into her path. That night Daniel found a small inn at the edge of the market. He bought a single room and sat with the girl by the dim light of a cracked lantern. She ate hungrily from the small meal he bought, every bite showing how long she had starved. When she finished, she curled up on the bed, still gripping his coat like a child who feared monsters in the dark. Daniel leaned back against the wall, staring out the small window at the alien sky. He thought of Earth, of his own daughter's laughter years ago, of the home he had left behind. Now another girl, not of his blood, not of his world, was calling him Daddy. And tomorrow he would have to fight for her life in front of an alien council. His hands tightened into fists. He whispered to himself, "If they want a trial, they will have it, but I will not let her go." As he spoke, the girl stirred in her sleep and whispered softly, "Daddy, don't leave me." Daniel felt his chest ache, stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. He reached out and gently pulled the blanket over her. "I'm not going anywhere," he murmured. But deep in the shadows outside, the enforcers spoke in secret. "The prophecy mark shines on her. We cannot let the human win," one muttered. "The council will make sure he fails. Tomorrow he will face trials no human can survive," the other replied. The stars above burned silently. Tomorrow would decide everything. And Daniel realized too late that by saying yes to one little girl, he had stepped into the heart of a storm that could shake the entire galaxy. The morning came heavy and cold. The alien city was wrapped in mist, and the sound of distant bells echoed from the great clan hall. Daniel stood outside with the girl, his hood down now, no more hiding. If he was to face their judgment, he would do it openly. The girl's hand trembled in his. Her silver eyes were fixed on the towering building ahead, carved with symbols older than memory. The entrance was guarded by warriors in crimson armor, their weapons glowing faintly. Every alien in the square stopped to stare at the human walking toward the hall with a child at his side. "Stay close to me," Daniel whispered. "I will," she replied softly, her voice steady, even though fear danced in her eyes. As they entered, the clan hall swallowed them. Inside was a vast chamber of stone and fire. Alien elders sat high on thrones shaped like claws, their robes heavy with jewels, their faces sharp with pride. The air smelled of smoke and iron, and the silence pressed down like a weight. One elder leaned forward, his voice booming. "Human, you claim the cursed child as your blood. Is this true?" Daniel's voice was firm. "Yes, she is my daughter, and I will not abandon her." A ripple of laughter and anger moved through the hall. The elders exchanged glances, some mocking, others frowning. Another elder hissed, "No human has ever stood in this hall as kin. You must prove yourself, only then may she be spared." The girl looked up at him, whispering, "This is the trial, Daddy. 3 tests, strength, wisdom, and heart. No one ever passes all." Daniel nodded, keeping his eyes locked on the elders. "Then let it begin," he said. The first trial was the trial of strength. They led him to a ring of stone where a warrior twice his size waited, covered in metal plates. The crowd roared as the warrior lifted a massive hammer that glowed with heat. Daniel had no weapon, only his fists, only his wits. The bell rang and the warrior charged. Daniel dodged, the hammer smashing the stone floor into shards. The alien swung again and again, but Daniel moved quick, using his small size against the giant. Finally, he grabbed a chain hanging from the ceiling, swung forward, and kicked the warrior in the back of the knees. The alien fell with a... Daniel stared at the board, his heart racing. He could not read their symbols, but he remembered patterns, remembered strategy from years of navigating alien maps and strange devices. Piece by piece, he shifted the glowing stones, aligning them into shapes that matched the stars he had seen above this world the night before. The final stone clicked into place, and the board lit up with brilliant light. The hall erupted in shock. The elders' eyes narrowed, furious, but the law was clear. The puzzle was solved. "The human passes the trial of wisdom," another elder declared, their voice grudging but unshakable. The girl clutched Daniel's arm, her eyes wet with tears. "No one has ever done that. No one." Daniel looked at her, and for a moment he felt something stronger than pride. He felt like a father again. But the third trial remained, the trial of heart. The elder's voice echoed like thunder. "Human, the last test will break you. You must prove the depth of your bond. If it is false, if you do not truly claim her, then you will fail, and both of you will be destroyed." The floor of the hall shifted, opening to reveal a pit of fire below. A narrow bridge extended over it, and on the other side stood a figure cloaked in shadows, holding a blade of black steel. The elder spoke. "Cross the bridge, face the guardian, and prove that your heart is unbreakable." Daniel took a step forward, but the girl pulled his hand. "Don't. They want to kill you. No one survives the guardian," she whispered, fear filling her voice. Daniel knelt down, looking into her eyes. "Listen to me, daughter. They call this a trial of heart, but they do not understand humans. They do not understand what a father will do. I will not fail you." He stood and stepped onto the bridge, the fire roaring below. The shadowed figure raised its blade, and the hall grew silent. Every eye watched, waiting for the moment the human would fall. But Daniel's steps did not falter. He walked forward with the weight of earth behind him, with the love of a father burning in his chest. The girl whispered into the silence, "Daddy, please, come back to me." And in that moment, the hall realized this was no act, no trick. The human was truly willing to die for the child, and that truth was more dangerous than any blade. The bridge shook under Daniel's steps, fire roaring beneath. The shadowed guardian lifted its black steel blade, its eyes glowing like coals in the darkness. Every elder leaned forward, their sharp faces filled with hunger, waiting for the human to fall. The hall was silent except for the crackle of fire and the faint whisper of the girl. "Daddy, please don't die." The guardian struck with speed, its blade flashing through the air. Daniel ducked low, the heat of the strike passing over his head. The narrow bridge trembled, and for a moment he almost slipped into the flames. But he forced his balance, his boots gripping the stone as he pushed forward. He had no weapon, no shield, only his hands and his will. The figure moved again, faster than before, its blade slashing down. Daniel caught the strike with both hands, his palms burning as the steel grazed his skin. The pain shot through him, but he did not let go. The hall gasped, the elders whispering, "Impossible. No human should endure that." The girl's eyes filled with tears, watching him bleed. "Daddy," she cried, but Daniel only gritted his teeth. He twisted his body, using the guardian's own weight, pulling the figure forward. With a roar, he slammed his shoulder into the dark figure, sending it crashing to the edge of the bridge. For a moment, the shadow hung over the fire, its blade slipping from its hand. Then, with one final heave, Daniel threw it into the flames below. The hall erupted in chaos, gasps, and shouts echoing through the chamber. The fire swallowed the guardian, and Daniel stood tall, his hands bleeding but his spirit unbroken. The elder in the center rose slowly, his voice heavy. "The human has passed the trial of heart." The girl ran forward, clinging to him, her small arms wrapping around his waist, her tears wet his coat. "I knew you would not leave me, Daddy," she whispered. Daniel put a hand on her head, his body trembling with exhaustion, but his voice steady. "You are mine, and no one will take you away." But not all were convinced. In the shadows of the hall, some elders leaned together, their eyes filled with hate. "This is dangerous. He is not only passing the trials, he is winning the crowd," one hissed. "The prophecy is clear. The cursed child will bring change, and this human may be the key. We cannot allow it," another whispered. They nodded, silent plans forming, their hands tightening on hidden blades. The chief elder raised his staff, calling for silence. "Human, you have faced strength, wisdom, and heart. You stand here not as a stranger, but as one who has claimed blood with honor. By the law, the child is yours." The crowd murmured, some in shock, some in awe. A human had never won such a trial, never claimed kinship in the sacred hall. And yet here he stood, beaten but unbroken, a little girl by his side. But as the law gave him victory, blood gave rise to betrayal. Suddenly, one elder struck, his hidden blade flashing as he lunged at Daniel. The girl screamed, but Daniel turned, catching the elder's wrist with lightning speed. With a twist, he forced the blade aside, and the steel cut across the stone floor instead, sparks flying. Gasps filled the hall again, the crowd rising in shock. "You break your own law," Daniel shouted, his voice echoing. The elder snarled, "You are not one of us. No human can truly win here." Daniel shoved him back, his own blood dripping onto the floor. "Then your law is nothing but lies," he growled. The chamber roared, some aliens shouting in agreement, others demanding his death. The girl clung to him, her small voice trembling. "Daddy, they will not stop. They want us gone." Daniel pulled her close, his eyes burning. "Then let them come. They will learn what it means to fight a human father." The chief elder slammed his staff, calling for order, but the seeds of rebellion had already been planted. Half the hall looked at Daniel with fear, the other half with newfound respect. And among them, whispers began to spread, whispers of the prophecy, whispers of a child marked by destiny, and a human bold enough to defy the council. The girl's silver eyes glowed faintly, as if something deep inside her had awakened. She looked up at Daniel, her voice soft but certain. "They are afraid of me, Daddy. They know who I am." Daniel stared at her, his breath catching. He realized now that this was more than saving one child. This was about something greater, something that could shake the very heart of the galaxy. And though he had come here as a stranger, he now stood as father, protector, and warrior. The Hall of Judgment had become a hall of war, and Daniel knew the fight was far from over. The great hall still shook with voices. Some aliens shouted for Daniel's death, others demanded the law be honored. The chief elder's staff struck the floor again and again, calling for silence, but the chamber had already split. Daniel stood in the center with the girl clinging to his side, his hands bloodied, his chest heaving. He had won the trial, but the hatred in the elder's eyes told him this was far from over. The chief elder finally raised his voice. Enough, the law is clear. The human has claimed the child, but there are truths even the law cannot hide. His words sent a ripple of tension through the hall. The girl stiffened, her silver eyes wide. She whispered to Daniel, "They know. They are going to tell." "Them." Daniel looked down, his voice low. "Tell them what? What are they hiding from me?" Her lips trembled. "My mark, Daddy, the one I was born with. They call it cursed, but it is more than that. It is prophecy." The chief elder pointed his staff toward her. "Show them the mark, child. Show the human what he has chosen to protect." The girl stepped back, shaking her head. "No, I don't want them to see," she cried softly. Daniel knelt beside her, his voice steady. "If there is truth here, I need to know it, daughter. Whatever it is, you are not alone." With trembling hands, she pulled back the sleeve of her ragged dress. On her arm, glowing faintly like silver fire, was a strange symbol. It looked like a spiral star wrapped in chains, alive with a light that pulsed softly. The crowd gasped, many stepping back as if the very sight burned them. The elder's voice thundered. "This child carries the mark of ruin. The prophecy says she will break the chains of the clans. She will bring down the council itself. Her life means the end of our order." Daniel's heart pounded. Now he understood why they wanted her erased. It was not because she was weak, not because she was abandoned. It was because she was dangerous, not to people but to their power. She was hope wrapped in a curse. The girl's eyes filled with tears. "They all hate me. They always hated me because of this, but I never asked for it." Daniel pulled her into his arms, his voice rough. "You are not a curse. You are my daughter, no matter what mark you carry." The crowd erupted again, some shouting for her execution, others whispering that maybe the prophecy was true, maybe change was coming. The elders banged their staffs, their faces twisted with fury. One elder snarled, "Human, you think you can protect her, you think you can fight destiny, but the prophecy will destroy you too." Daniel stepped forward, his voice loud, cutting through the noise. "No prophecy destroys a child. It is fear that does. And I will not let your fear decide her fate." The girl looked up at him, her small hands gripping his coat. For the first time in her life, she felt someone stand not in front of her, but with her. Her heart swelled with something she had never known. Safety. The chief elder's eyes narrowed. "Then you choose war, human, because to protect her is to stand against the council itself." Daniel did not hesitate. "Then I stand against you, all of you, if that is what it takes." Suddenly the torches around the hall flickered. A low hum filled the chamber, and the girl gasped, her mark glowing brighter. Her body shook as if energy surged through her veins. "Daddy's. Something is happening," she whispered, her voice trembling. The elders stepped back in alarm, their pride breaking into fear. The mark blazed like a small star, filling the chamber with silver light. The chains carved into the stone walls cracked and shattered under its glow. Aliens in the crowd fell to their knees, shielding their eyes. The chief elder shouted, "Stop her, now, before the prophecy awakens fully." Enforcers rushed forward, their weapons blazing with red light. Daniel pulled the girl behind him, his fists clenched. He had no blade, no shield, but he had his will, and that was enough. "You want her, you come through me," he roared. The first enforcer swung his staff, energy crackling. Daniel ducked, grabbed the weapon, and forced it upward, the blast tearing a hole in the ceiling. He slammed his elbow into the soldier's chest, sending him sprawling across the floor. The girl cried out, "Daddy!" as another enforcer lunged, but Daniel twisted, grabbed the attacker's arm, and broke it against the stone. The crowd shouted, half in terror, half in awe, a human fighting armed enforcers with nothing but strength and fury, the prophecy child glowing like a star behind him. It was no longer a trial. It was a war beginning. The chief elder's voice thundered, "This ends now." But his voice shook with fear. Daniel stood, breathing hard, his arms bleeding, but his eyes burning with fire. He pulled the clan hall shook as the girl's mark blazed like fire. Silver light poured from her skin, cracks spread through the ancient stone walls, and the ceiling groaned under the force. Aliens screamed and stumbled back, some kneeling in fear, others rushing for the exits. But the elders stood their ground, their faces twisted with rage. The chief elder's voice cut through the chaos. She cannot be allowed to live. She carries ruin in her blood. If the prophecy awakens, the council itself will fall. His words sent a shiver through the crowd. Many looked at the girl not as a child but as a storm. Daniel pulled her closer, his arms like iron. You call her ruin, I call her hope, and I will fight every one of you if I must. The enforcers advanced, dozens this time, their weapons glowing with deadly red light. The girl clung to him, her body trembling. Daddy, there are too many, they will kill you, she whispered, her voice cracking. Daniel bent low, his forehead against hers. They will not touch you, not while I breathe. The first wave of enforcers charged, blades slicing through the air. Daniel moved with desperate speed, grabbing a fallen staff from the floor. He blocked one strike, spun the weapon, and slammed it into another soldier's chest, sending sparks flying. But for every one he pushed back, two more stepped forward. The girl's mark pulsed brighter, reacting to his fury. The silver light spread, wrapping around him like threads of energy. Each time he struck, the power seemed to amplify his strength, his blows echoing with more force than before. The crowd gasped, whispering, "The human fights with the prophecy. The mark accepts him." An elder slammed his staff down, summoning a circle of fire around the hall. "You defy the council, you defy destiny, then you will burn together," he roared. Flames rose high, cutting off escape. The hall became a cage of fur, in fury. Daniel's body shook from exhaustion, every muscle screaming, but his eyes burned with unbreakable resolve. He fought not as a warrior, not as a soldier, but as a father, and that made him unstoppable. The girl suddenly screamed, her body arching as the mark unleashed a shockwave of light. The fire around them shattered like glass. The elders staggered back, their jeweled crowns cracking under the force. The energy swept through the hall, sending enforcers crashing into the walls, their weapons breaking apart. Silence followed, broken only by the girl's trembling voice. "Daddy, I can't control it. It's too strong. I don't want to hurt you." Daniel dropped the broken staff and wrapped his arms around her. "You are not hurting me. You are saving me, saving us. Don't be afraid of who you are." The elders regained their footing, their faces pale with fear. One hissed, "The prophecy is no longer a whisper. It lives now, and it will spread. This human has tied himself to it. They will bring down everything." Another snarled, "Then we must summon the council's judgment, call the Black Tribunal." The crowd gasped. The Black Tribunal, an ancient order, feared even by the elders themselves. If they were called, it meant death, not just for the girl, but for the one who protected her. Daniel stood tall, blood on his hands, firelight in his eyes. "Call whoever you want, I will face them all," he said, his voice thunderous. The girl pressed her face against his chest, whispering, "You really mean it, don't you? You won't leave me?" He stroked her hair gently. "Never. You are mine, daughter, and I will stand against the galaxy itself if I must." The chief elder's voice rose once more, heavy with fury and fear. "Then know this, human. From this moment you are no longer a traveler, you are no longer free, you are enemy of the council, and every world under our banner will hunt you." The words spread like fire, whispered by every alien in the hall. Enemy of the council, the cursed child and her human father. Fear mixed with awe, and already seeds of rebellion began to stir in the hearts of those who had long been silent. Daniel tightened his grip on the girl, his voice low but steady. "Let them come. I have nothing to lose, but everything to protect." The girl's mark flickered one last time, then dimmed, leaving only faint silver lines on her skin. Her body sagged, exhausted, but safe in his arms. He lifted her, carrying her like she was the most precious treasure in the galaxy. As he walked toward the shattered doors of the hall, every eye followed, some filled with hate, others with hope, and in the silence that followed, the prophecy had changed shape. It was no longer just about a cursed child, it was about a human who dared to stand as father, who dared to fight destiny, and together they had become something the galaxy had never seen before. The breaking point had come, and now the real war was about to begin. The clan hall lay in ruins. Broken stone, shattered banners, and scorched walls stood as proof of the chaos that had taken place. The girl rested in Daniel's arms, her silver mark glowing faintly like fading embers. Aliens in the crowd whispered to each other, too afraid to speak loudly. Some called him mad, some called him savior, but all knew the galaxy had just shifted. Daniel walked slowly through the broken doors, every step echoing. His eyes met the stares of the city outside. Thousands gathered after hearing the noise. Mothers clutched their children. Merchants leaned over stalls. Warriors gripped their weapons but did not move, all eyes fixed on the human carrying the girl with the mark of prophecy. A voice rose from the crowd, trembling yet strong. "If he can stand against the elders, why can't we?" Another voice followed. "The council has ruled us in chains for too long." And then louder. "The prophecy is real. The child has awakened." Daniel felt the weight of those words pressing down. He had not come to lead. He had not come to break empires. He only came to protect one girl. But now, by choosing her, he had chosen the future of an entire galaxy. The chief elder staggered out of the hall, his robe torn, his crown cracked. His voice still carried power, though his hands shook. "Do not be fooled. The human is no savior. The child is ruin. If they live, the council will fall, and with it, every world will drown in chaos." The crowd murmured, torn between fear and hope. Daniel turned slowly, his voice carrying across the silence. "You call her ruin because you fear change. But what kind of leaders call a child a curse? What kind of rulers destroy their own people to keep power? You fear her because she carries truth, and truth is stronger than your chains." The girl stirred in his arms, opening her eyes weakly. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the silence like a blade. "I am not a curse. I am not ruin. I am his daughter. And together we are stronger than your lies." Gasps spread, and then something shifted. For the first time, people in the crowd stepped forward, not away. A warrior knelt, lowering his blade. A mother bowed her head with her child. Soon dozens followed, bending their knees not to the elders, but to the human and the girl. The elders' faces twisted with fear. They shouted, they threatened, but their voices cracked under the weight of a rising tide. The people had seen too much. The chains of fear had been broken. Daniel looked at the girl, pride burning in his chest. She was small, fragile, yet she had sparked something the galaxy had waited for centuries. She looked back at him, whispering, "Daddy, are we really changing everything?" He smiled faintly, his voice steady. "Yes, daughter, but change always comes with war, and the council will not stop until we are gone, far above." The sky trembled as ships broke through the clouds, black vessels with jagged wings, the mark of the Black Tribunal carved into their hulls. The crowd gasped in terror, many dropping to the ground. The elders raised their staffs, shouting, "See, the tribunal has come, the prophecy ends tonight." Daniel tightened his grip on the girl, his eyes sharp. The tribunal, executioners of the council, feared even in the darkest corners of space. Their arrival meant only one thing. The galaxy had entered its final storm. He looked at the ships, then at the thousands watching him. He knew running was no longer an option. Hiding was no longer possible. If they wanted survival, if they wanted freedom, they would have to fight, and he would be the shield at the front. The girl pressed her forehead against his chest, whispering, "Whatever comes, I will not leave you. I promise." He kissed the top of her head, his voice steady like steel. "And I will never let go, not in this life, not in any other." The ships above opened, beams of red light striking down like claws of fire. The crowd scattered in panic. The elders cheered with cruel joy, but Daniel stood firm, lifting the girl high as her mark blazed once more, brighter than ever before. The silver light met the red beams, clashing in the sky, shaking the ground, tearing the clouds apart. Every soul watching knew in that moment, this was not just the story of a human and an abandoned alien girl. This was the birth of a legend, the day a father's love defied an empire, the day a child's curse became a galaxy's hope. And as the first warships of the tribunal descended, the whispers of rebellion spread like wildfire across the stars. A new dawn had begun, and nothing in the universe would ever be the same again.